News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KBNU.
KBNU News Time is 4:03. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by Roof Rescue. It's a count that is conducted nationwide once a year to gauge the problem of homelessness and was done in late January locally in Cache, Rich, and Box Elder counties. On KBNU's For the People program this past Tuesday, Department Chair in Social Work at Utah State University, Jess Lucero, who headed up this year's count in the Bear River area, explained how it's done.
Yeah, it's a single point-in-time count, and it happens in every jurisdiction across the United States at the same time, so it gives us a chance to kind of compare unsheltered and sheltered homelessness across the entire country. And we go out in teams all across the region, and that's our Cache, Rich, and Box Elder counties. This year we had over 120 volunteers who showed up from our Utah State community and from our wider community.
She said they get a survey out to ones who are unsheltered, but they are also connecting them to resources that exist in our communities and also sharing warming items and hygiene items and things of that nature. So as far as the count, what did they find this year?
But we had 14 who were at the warming center. We had 34 individuals who were in motel shelter, and that motel is provided by our Bear River Association of Governments, or BRAG. We had 11 who were in shelter at CAPSA and 90 that were in transitional housing at CAPSA that evening. We had 8 who were sheltered at New Hope Crisis Center, the domestic violence center over in Box Elder County. And then we had 41 unsheltered individuals that we encountered.
Lucero said the primary places they were identifying unsheltered ones were those sleeping in their cars. She stressed that these are all unofficial numbers. Official numbers from the state of Utah should come out this summer. KBNU News Time is 4:05. KBNU weather for tonight, slight chance of rain showers and snow showers in our forecast. Overnight low in the upper 20s, and then mostly cloudy, then gradually becoming mostly sunny. On Thursday, high temperature tomorrow in the upper 30s, and then sunny mid-30s on Friday. It's been to 46. It's 45 right now at KBNU. The annual gold filter sale is going on through March 15th at Napa Auto Parts. Best time of the year to stock up on oil and filters. 5 quarts of Napa synthetic premium blend and a Napa gold filter, $20.89 at your 5 locations of Napa Auto Parts from Preston to Providence.
Roof Rescue is your local roofing specialist, dedicated to keeping your home safe and dry no matter the weather. Their team of experienced roofers is here to serve you, providing top quality service at affordable prices. From minor repairs to complete roof replacements, they've got you covered. Remember, your roof is your first line of defense in protecting your family from the elements. So don't wait until the next storm to discover your roof problems. Call Roof Rescue today at 435-999-4268. They're your trusted local roofing experts, here to keep your home safe and dry. Roof Rescue, celebrating 10 years of providing watertight peace of mind.
KBNU News Time is 4:06. Republican voters went to the polls in nearly a third of the country on March 5th, and the majority of them voted for Donald Trump. Results of the GOP Super Tuesday primary voting saw Trump carry 12 of 15 states, with polling results from Utah and Alaska that were still pending. Voters in Vermont backed Governor Nikki Haley, Trump's only remaining Republican opponent. Utah Republicans conducted a presidential preference poll at widely scattered caucuses, but their results were delayed by a chaotic night after digital systems failed at numerous locations. Utah's GOP chose a caucus over a primary, and worry over turnout has turned into a rush to manage a crush of people at some caucus locations along the Wasatch Front. Although Trump's delegate haul from the Super Tuesday voting was still being calculated, results from the winner-take-all contest suggest that his standing jumped from 244 delegates going into the Tuesday primaries to 551 by late Tuesday night. And in the end, he did win the Utah primary And his opponent, Nikki Haley, announced she was suspending her campaign. As expected, the nationwide Super Tuesday balloting proved to be a cakewalk for President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. The incumbent won in all 14 states holding Super Tuesday Democratic primaries, including Utah. Biden is expected to capture all 1,420 Democratic state delegates that were up for grabs on Super Tuesday, leaving him only about 340 delegates shy of cinching his party's nomination. In Utah, the president scooped up the state's 34 Democratic delegates, which Utah Democratic Party Chair Dianne Lewis called an overwhelming victory. KVNU News Time is 4:08. For more details on these and other stories, visit CacheValleyDaily.com.
News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
American energy is under attack. Joe Biden has waged a war on American natural resources and made it harder to produce affordable, reliable, and clean energy right here in Utah. Our energy prices are already going up. Biden's policies will make it worse. But Republican John Curtis has our back. There is no greater supporter of unleashing American energy than John Curtis. John Curtis knows our abundant natural resources help keep us free and safe, powers our economy, keeps the lights on, and keeps Utah on the move. John Curtis is Utah tough. He's taken the fight to Joe Biden and the Washington politicians who all want to hurt American energy. And now we need a conservative to take the fight to the United States Senate. We need Republican John Curtis, a strong defender of American energy dominance in the fight for us.
Paid for by Clear Path Action Fund. Not authorized by any candidate or candidate committee.
It's time to tax like a champ with help from your local pros at H&R Block. Block guarantees 100% accuracy and your max refund or your money back. Plus, you'll always know the price of your tax prep before you begin. Walk in or make your appointment with H&R Block in Logan by calling 752-1651. That's 752-1651. Or download the H&R Block app and see for yourself why it's better with Block. Well, tax situations are different. Not everyone gets a refund. Limitations apply. See hrblock.com/guarantee.
Today's hearing aid technology can improve not only your life, but the lives of the people who care about you. Once again, you'll be able to hear the reason for their laughter and understand conversations. Dr. Paul Danes will customize a hearing improvement program to meet your unique requirements, whatever they are. Call Dr. Danes for an appointment at 753-HERE and let him show you how.
Bring back what you've been missing. Bring back Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology.
The Cache Valley Media Group Home and Garden Show presented by Anderson Seed and Garden is March 22nd and 23rd at the Eccles Eye Center. For 25 plus years, thousands of people have enjoyed this fun and helpful home show. Main Street access, great parking, and thousands of visitors make it perfect for your business. Reserve your space today. Google Cache Valley Home and Garden Show for details or call 752-1390.
That's 752-1390.
For the people.
We are waiting with bated breath for news from the Cache Republican Party meeting an executive committee tonight.
With Jason Williams.
And I'm really excited about this next segment. We have two guests here in studio. We're going to talk about something that we've talked about many times here on the show, but from a bit of a different angle.
Weekday afternoons from 4 till 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM.
Welcome to KVNU's For the People. It is, well, I think, a beautiful Wednesday, March 6th. I say
it's mild out there.
Yeah, I say beautiful because the temperature, it's just
44.
Feels like spring. These temperatures, although they're a bit lower than what is average in March. They aren't completely abnormal for March, some of the cooler temperatures we've had, and I'm sure we'll have some cooler temperatures return not too long from now. It is only the 1st of March, but yeah, this is one of my favorite things about this time of year, those little sneak peeks of spring that you get. And with that in mind, everyone is, of course, thinking about spring cleaning. We talked about that a little bit with Emily Malik, environmental coordinator or conservation coordinator, with Logan City, and some of the updates and changes they've made out at the landfill. That I call it the toxic building, but that building for old antifreeze and oil and paint and spray paint and all that stuff being right there by the recycling center that's been there for years now, having those two together, just honestly an amazing thing. And I wanted to also mention this because it's in the same arena and things again this year are going to be a bit different than things in the past. But for Logan City residents, I know spring cleanup in Logan has always been kind of a big annual event. And in years past, and possibly in years future, again, at some point, you've been able to just drag branches and leaf piles and things like that to your front yard, to the very edge of the curb there. And then Logan City Environmental Department would come along, had some fancy trucks, giant vacuums, things like that, and they'd clean it up.
Those were the days.
Yeah, and it was actually better for you to drag it to the curb side rather than to put it in the curb where it could plug up some of those culverts and drains. And so this was a service that was always very popular in Logan. And second year in a row, because of changes in the way green waste and things like that have been going about collecting green waste, we should say, in Cache Valley, changes to contracts, how things work with Logan City's relationship with other cities that didn't even have a green waste contract last year, and so a couple that I've heard may not again this coming year, which I'm sure residents will just be thrilled about. Cities, you should get on that as the weather warms, but a lot of changes, basically, and that is going to affect Logan City's spring cleanup again. Logan City crews will no longer be providing the curbside green waste pickup again this year. So and this is to keep up. Basically, Logan City has gotten huge. Mayor Daines last year, when they announced this for the first time, explained the number of people and the hours for the work crews and the cost to the city to do this pick it up from your front yard for you cleanup thing, and it's just not sustainable. Unless, Logan residents, you always have the option to go petition the city council to hike your taxes, so the city has that money to dedicate to that. But it's a huge dollar amount and number of hours worked and overtime worked for public works crews to do this, and so the city has at this point ended the practice. Now, again, there might be an option for something like this in the future as technology and cost-saving options present themselves. But right now, this is something you should consider no longer a part of Logan City's spring cleanup services, the pick it up from your front yard side of things. But the city's not leaving you high and dry. You always have the option, of course, for the curbside green waste can. It's $4 a month. And you can actually start getting those April 1st, and they'll be picked up, as usual, by the Logan City Environmental Department, those trucks they have going around. And if you need to sign up for that, you can go to the Logan City Environmental Department website or even call the city and just let them know you want to add that to your monthly utility bill from the city. Again, $4 a month. And they are emptied on a weekly basis, just like your garbage, your black can. So there's that option, of course. But what Logan City's doing to offset the pick it up from your front yard spring cleaning, green waste retrieval, that again at this point has ended. Just not a sustainable system for the city as population has grown and the size of the city has grown over the years. So what they're doing instead is they're going to, you also always have the which I recommend, the green waste option at the Logan landfill. That to me is your easiest option. If you've never been out there to dump green waste at the landfill, it is so slick. You literally, the most difficult thing about it is on Saturdays it gets a little crowded out there, and so you have to navigate some traffic, maybe wait 10 or so minutes for a spot to open up for you to back your truck or trailer in. But other than that, it is so slick. Especially if you go during the week before they close at 5, if you run out there.
Because everybody else is at work.
Everyone else is at work,
so
use your lunch break, run home, swap vehicles, run to the landfill. You can literally, I've done it, you can do this in 25 minutes from other parts of the valley. I've literally done that. But you back in, you push or slide or pull or dump whatever it is that you have green waste-wise on the edge of the pile that's already there, and you leave. Honestly, it's an underutilized option, and maybe I shouldn't say that. It's going to be crowded all the time now. But yeah,
thanks, Jason.
The green waste dump at the Logan landfill is, like I say, underappreciated. It is so slick, and that's for county-wide. Anyone in the county can use that, not just Logan residents. But for Logan residents, to offset the lack of pick it up from your front yard green waste collection again this year, a practice that at this point has ended for the city due to costs and the size of the city and population growth and all of that. What they're doing instead is they're setting up 4 locations for bulk green waste dropping. And these are designated location. There will be green waste dumpsters. This isn't a pull in and throw it in the parking lot kind of thing. In fact, that makes it very difficult for them to pick up and empty the dumpsters, so you're just annoying all your neighbors by doing that. So if the dumpster's full, don't dump it. But the dumpsters that will be designated, this will start Monday, April 15th. And we'll go through Friday, April 26th. There will be gigantic green waste bins at Lundstrom Park, in the parking stalls there at Lundstrom Park, the Hiram Gibbons Mount Logan Park parking lot, Merlin Olson Park on the east side. There are those parking stalls on the east side of Merlin Olson Park, and Bridger Park on the side of Bridger Park there on the pavement as well. So 4 locations for green waste dump, in addition to the big green waste dump, and most convenient, in my opinion, at the Logan landfill, 8 to 5 each day, including Saturdays. You'll have these 4 other options: Lundstrom Park, Hiram Gibbons Mount Logan Park, Merlin Olson Park, and Bridger Park. So if you have any questions about what's acceptable at green waste, you don't have to be a rocket scientist for that. But if you have any questions, or if you have something that's a little larger, like a tree stump, things like that, and you need to dispose of that, the city does have options and can help in other ways on an individual basis. So contact the city and Logan City Environmental Department specifically. Their number is 716-9755. Same number you'd call to sign up for the green waste bins if you're only dealing with small green waste, small branches at a time, long clippings, things like that. That green waste bin that is dumped with your garbage each week is a convenient and cheap option for $4 a month. So, again, green waste this year, don't place it curbside. This is going to be handled only through the drop at the landfill and these 4 locations at Lundstrom, Hiram Gibbons, Merlin Olson, and Bridger Parks. From April 15th to April 26th. So a little announcement from Logan City out today. So coming up on the show today, quite a bit to discuss. The governor has hinted at some possible vetoes, though they haven't happened yet. We'll tell you what's been hinted. Also, some confusion being sown here in Cache Valley around the recently concluded investigation into the county clerk's office. We've had a lot of listeners pass along some messages that have gotten out there somehow about this investigation and what was presented to the county council, that if you watch the video from the presentation by the state election office to the county council, you can clearly see that these ideas that have been put out there to defend certain folks are false. So we're going to clear that up today with some actual audio of the presentation given to the county council in a workshop several weeks ago by the elections office, announcing the conclusion of their investigation into the Cache County clerk and clerk's office. And we'll get to that later on in the show as well. Some myth busting. It's unfortunate when this happens, and I'm not pointing any fingers because I don't know where this stuff's coming from, but a lot of folks out there saying, I heard this, is this true? No. And we'll play the actual audio for you so you can spread the truth around instead. That's coming up later on KVNU's For the People, which returns right after this.
Are you looking for a new adventure? Maybe you're hoping to find the next piece of your map to success. Here at Bank of Utah, we have just the thing for you. Our certificate of deposit is sure to help you kickstart your next adventure. The best part? Your money does the work for you. Stop by our Logan, Providence, or Tremonton branches today and chat with our savings experts, or visit bankofutah.com to apply online. Adventure is out there. Start saving now with a CD. My Utah. My bank. Bank of Utah. Member FDIC.
24 NCAA appearances, 17 conference championships, 10 tournament championships. New head coach Danny Sprinkle and the Aggies are carrying on their commitment to excellence.
Tip to Brown. Brown at the three. Yes! It's the three. What a shot.
The Utah State Aggies play here with pregame beginning 1 hour before tip-off, play-by-play and postgame interviews and Aggie call afterwards. It's Aggie basketball on News Talk KVNU.
Do you know a veteran in need? Nation's Finest, through the VA's Supportive Services for Veteran Families program, helps veterans and their families struggling with rent, employment, and other housing-related costs. Today, Nation's Finest operates more than 30 locations in California, Arizona, and Nevada, helping thousands of veterans every year. Visit nationsfinest.org or call 1-833-468-9676. That's 1-833-468-9676.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. I'm curious if you went out to caucus last night here in Cache Valley. I haven't heard a lot of reports from Cache Valley on how it went. I know some folks who went who have, a handful who have said it was smooth at their precinct and, still there the whole 3 hours, but they were able to cast a vote in the presidential preference poll and hear from candidates as delegates and more, and had a good time, ran into neighbors, met some new neighbors, things like that. Those are some of the stories I've heard. I did hear one comment, an anonymous comment, so I'm not going to repeat it verbatim, but there was an anonymous comment sent into our show chat late last night around 10 o'clock saying that their precinct in the northern part of the valley was a mess and that people had been turned away when the registration process wouldn't work, and was telling them they weren't registered Republicans when they were, and those people just left and didn't vote. Again, I'm not going to read this verbatim that was sent in because it's sent in anonymously, and it mentions names and specific locations. If you are the person who sent this in anonymously and you would like to call in and give your name, first name at least, and which precinct you were talking about, we'd, of course, open the phone lines up for that. But I want to know how people's experience went, because statewide, it was a bit of a fiasco for the Utah GOP. And I don't know if this is due to some new technology they were using, QR code scanners and a different process for downloading ballots and check-in and things like that. But some of the stories from around the state that plagued the state party, and you could tell in some video that was shared online, Utah GOP Chair Robert Axon, Rob was sweating last night under some pressure and seemingly aware things were not going well. But some of the stories from around the state, similar to, now these are confirmed stories, people who, one person saying in a actual interview with a Salt Lake City media group, I have been a registered Republican my whole life, but here is what I got when I showed up at caucus, even after pre-registering and having my pre-registration accepted by the state party's platform that they set up to do this last night at caucus, and then showing up to scan the QR code that comes with the confirmation email for pre-registering, and having the system there on site say you are not an eligible voter in this presidential preference poll. So reports again that Republican Party members being told they were not eligible to participate when they clearly were registered voters, registered Republicans, because they were able to pre-register for the event in the first place. Also, some complaints about time, despite the option to pre-register. Some locations still had one photo I saw was a mile and it was about a half a mile long line outside the high school where the precinct meeting was happening. This is in Davis County, I believe, area. Half a mile long line based on the number of sides of the block that it went around from the video I saw shared online, and folks waiting in that line until nearly 8 o'clock, despite the fact that most of them said they were pre-registered, which was supposed to streamline the process and get you in faster. So, again, I don't know what happened. I don't think it's fair to point fingers at I mean, if you want to disagree with the decision to use, an antiquated system to do this last night, that's, a debate that you can have, and many are, because, this could have been just a by mail balloting process where ballots would have been received days or even weeks ago, and you could have just either mailed them back or dropped them off in person. Now, that does come at taxpayer expense, and so the state party, Rob Axon, said they wanted to do this. They wanted to do the caucus for two reasons. They wanted to both save the taxpayers money, but also sort of force people to be a part of the caucus system, because Axon said he feels it's under attack. It's waning in popularity. It has become less popular with even rank-and-file Republicans, and they wanted to kind of counter that, push back against it, and show people the caucus system can be fun and useful. Now, obviously, last night, that presentation of the caucus system's effectiveness did not go well, it sounds like, in parts of the state, but that's the stated reason for doing it. Again, I'm curious. I didn't hear a lot. Like 3 or 4 stories was all I got back from people around the valley on their caucus experience. If you went last night, 753-5868. Again, I've heard more stories saying that their precincts went smoothly. They had a great time talking with neighbors, meeting new neighbors. Delegates were elected. Some folks sent in results of their precinct, whether it went for Trump or Haley in the presidential preference poll. And then, again, just a handful of stories of people telling similar stories from their precinct throughout the valley that were similar to those we heard from along the Wasatch Front. Long waits despite the pre-registration process, and registered Republicans who could prove they were registered Republicans still being turned away as ineligible by the system that was used to credential last night. So, a lot of headlines. Chaos ensues was one I saw earlier today. And as far as the overall, as Bill mentioned, as far as the overall results and things like that, you can read quite a bit of that. But at this point in the counting, now my understanding is there are still some ballots out there to be tallied. Davis County, I know I saw about an hour ago at least, still had some that they hadn't reported yet. But right now, about 76% of precincts reporting was the last update from the party, and it's breaking down about 60-40 Trump and Haley. So that's roughly where things are sitting. And third-party candidate that I actually forgot was on the ballot here in Utah, Binkley, holding steady throughout the tallies, even after every update at 1%. Again, if you went out to caucus last night and you have a story you'd like to share, how did it go? Hearing reports of absolute chaos at some locations throughout the state, and registered Republicans being turned away when the system said they were ineligible, despite the fact they could prove they were registered. And there seemed to be no fix for that. Here in Cache Valley, I heard very few stories like that. I heard more that things went well and it was an enjoyable experience. So call in, share your experience from caucus night last night. How did it go for you at your precinct? 753-5868. We'll be back right after this. Look at the news with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News Time is 4:32. The news brought to you by Franklin County Medical Center. U.S. states that draw water from the Colorado River Basin are suggesting new ways to determine how to absorb shortages in supply, but they don't agree on the approach. The lower basin states of Arizona, Nevada, and California want what they say is a more equitable way of distributing any cuts. Meanwhile, the upper basin states of Utah, Wyoming, Colorado, and New Mexico say they are subject to nature and shouldn't be subject to mandatory cuts. The U.S. Bureau of Reclamation will consider the proposals in crafting a final plan that would go into effect in 2027 after the current rules and guidelines expire. A newspaper in Idaho is reporting that workers had expressed concern about the bending or bowed beams and other structural issues before a steel airport hangar under construction collapsed in January, killing 3 people. The Idaho Statesman obtained police interviews and reports through a public records request. They show some employees told the site's supervisor of their worries a day before the privately owned and partially built hangar collapsed on January 31st on the grounds of the Boise airport. Boise police turned its information over to OSHA, which has said its investigation into the collapse could take up to 6 months. Utah State Aggie men's basketball game, the final road game of the regular season. They are at Provident Credit Union Event Center in San Jose against the San Jose State Spartans tonight. Tip-off is 7:30 Mountain Time. We'll be on the air at 6:30 this evening with Aggie Game Day with Al Lewis and former Aggie great Jalen Moore. Aggie Call after the game with Al and Jalen, joined by John Russell. Also, CBS Sports Network has the TV coverage of the game, but we will have it for you tonight here on KBNU. KBNU News Time is 4:34.
In today's game, the momentum will shift when one team goes on a run. A run. Like the diaper run you made last night? If you're thinking of getting a vasectomy, the healthcare teams at Franklin County Medical Center in Preston are ready. A vasectomy is a highly effective form of contraception. It's a simple procedure with a short recovery time, and a vasectomy means less stress for family planning. Talk to the experts at Franklin County Medical Center in Preston about your vasectomy. Start by visiting fcmc.org today.
ABC News, I'm Daria Aldinger. A guilty verdict in the trial of Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, the armorer on the set of the movie Rust. A New Mexico jury convicted her of involuntary manslaughter in the fatal shooting of cinematographer Helena Hutchins. Philadelphia police say 8 students were shot and 1 is in critical condition after a mass shooting at a bus stop this afternoon.
We need somebody to help. We need more police patrols, and we need the police to be able to do their jobs.
Roxana Gambina Schroeder lives nearby. The Senate's expected to take up a $460 billion spending package the House passed today to keep money flowing to key federal agencies through the end of the fiscal year. Nikki Haley has suspended her presidential campaign, congratulating Donald Trump, but stopping short of endorsing him. Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell endorsing the former president, even though the two haven't talked for years.
He obviously is going to be the nominee of our party.
McConnell said he promised to endorse the nominee, whoever it is. This is ABC News.
KBNU weather for tonight. Slight chance of a rain or snow shower tonight. Overnight low in the upper 20s, around 27. Then mostly cloudy to start the day Thursday, but clouds going away, gradually becoming mostly sunny. And the high temperature in the upper 30s, sunny mid-30s on Friday. All the way into the 40s again today. Our high temperature has been 46, and right now we have 43 degrees at KBNU. Quality First Insurance and Matt Robbins, they have access to many insurance carriers and will give you options to protect your business. Give your insurance package a fresh look. Call Quality First Insurance, 435-752-0101. You can always get more news at CashValleyDaily.com. Let's check Wall Street now with Edward Jones.
This is Bobby Bedrero, Branch Office Administrator, bringing you the daily financial market report on behalf of financial advisor Clayton McMurdy and Edward Jones. Stocks finished broadly higher following yesterday's more than 1%. The drop in bond yields also helped lift sentiment as Fed Chair Powell, who spoke to Congress, said that it will be appropriate to begin cutting rates at some point this year. But he also highlighted that the Fed needs more confidence on inflation to cut rates. This message was consistent with expectations, and as a result, the U.S. dollar declined, while bonds and oil increased. Among the notable moves was that shares of New York Community Bancorp, the troubled commercial real estate lender, rose after the company raised over $1 billion in equity to shore up investor confidence. Today, U.S. equities closed higher. The Dow closed up 76 points. The NASDAQ closed up 92 points. The S&P closed up 26 points. And in the bond market, 10-year Treasury yields are trading at 4.11% lower by 0.03 percentage points. This has been today's financial market report, brought to you on behalf of Edward Jones, member SIPC, and financial advisor Clayton McMurdy, serving individual investors with personalized attention and financial advice at 1309 North Main Street, Suite 110 in Logan. If you would like additional information, please contact our branch office at 435-753-0537. Daily commentary is also located on our website at edwardjones.com.
Intermountain Bud ENT Clinic has an experienced and caring team of physicians and staff to assist you with all of your ear, nose, and throat concerns, including head and neck surgery. Doctors Kaiser and Wilson and their staff at Intermountain Bud ENT Clinic will work together to provide excellent care and support throughout the entire surgery process, from your pre-op visit to your full recovery. And they accept all insurance. For more information about Doctors Kaiser or Wilson, search Budge Clinic ENT or call 435-716-1420. Local care with Intermountain expertise.
Furniture and mattress stores come and go, but there's a reason family-owned and operated UNI Furniture has been here for 95 years. Bring in your tax return. UNI has closeout prices on select mattress models, including some displays. On a budget and looking for a less expensive entry-level mattress? They have it. Want something more supportive to support more weight? UNI has that. Sleep cooler and sleep better on a copper memory foam mattress. UNI sells sheets from Bedgear, a cooler sheet to breathe. That's why there's always a better buy at UNI Furniture, downtown Logan.
Hey, I'm ABC's Daria Alvinger. Gather up your W-2s and your 1099s because it's that time of year again. The tax filing deadline is right around the corner. We've got you covered every step of the way, from getting organized to filing to receiving your refund. We'll bring you advice from accountants, industry insiders, and yes, even the IRS. So join me for tax tips from ABC News now through the filing deadline, right here.
Weekday mornings at 9:50 on News Talk KVNU.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. After reports from other parts of the state about some of the headlines I'm seeing: fiasco, chaos, train wreck, some of the quotes from delegates last night for their experience with the Utah GOP's caucus and presidential preference poll. Most of this seemed to be maybe a technical issue with a system that was telling registered voters they were ineligible to vote, and some of them gave up and went home. There were reports of that. But also, well, according to Rob Axon, party chair himself, they had some locations in which volunteers didn't show up. So they were quickly deputizing volunteers to hand out ballots, which someone pointed out was extremely insecure. They weren't trained. So that threw a wrench in things in one location in Davis County. Here in Cache County, I've heard mostly stories that people had a good experience, that it went smoothly. They had a good time, met some new neighbors, talked to old neighbors. But we did get a couple of stories of people saying they had a similar experience to what was happening along the Wasatch Front and in Salt Lake and Utah counties with some of these caucuses. More than an hour and a half for some people to even get checked in, even though they'd pre-registered, which was supposedly going to let them just kind of head right in. They'd already proven they were registered and had their QR code, and then the system would scan the QR code and say, well, you're not a registered Republican, get out. Chair Rob Axon, in a lot of interviews last night on the local news at 10, sweating, looking very nervous. We've got some audio of some of the things he had to say, and one audio that a listener sent in from an actual caucus meeting in Box Elder County that, won't let you hear it. But we do have a caller on the line, wants to share her story of attending caucus last night. Pat with us. Pat, thanks for calling and thanks for being patient. Pat called right as we went to the news, and she patiently waited through that. So appreciate you doing so. How was your experience last night at caucus?
Well, my experience was good.
Good to hear.
I helped with credentialing, and so we started to work with the QR code before our people started coming in and realized that it was not working. And we went immediately to paper. And we had prepared, we had paper lists of the registered voters, and we had a few people come in who had paperwork from the state that showed that they were that they had been approved, that they had been pre-approved, that didn't actually show on our sheet, but we wrote them in, and we credentialed almost everyone. We didn't turn anyone away. We found a workaround with non-technical issues, and we had a very good meeting. I think people were pleased. Everyone went away happy.
That is great to hear.
But we did not. We did not go with the technical stuff. We strictly went with paper.
So you were doing manual check-ins and things like that. I heard that was happening at some of the caucuses here in the Valley.
We didn't even try to do it the other way, and we had people maybe waited for 2 or 3 minutes. But we had several people there checking IDs and checking the list, and it went very smoothly.
That is great to hear. And I wondered, Cheryl, if that was maybe part of it, because if you look at the media reports, most of the reports where things kind of melted down the worst were in areas where they had precincts, very crowded precincts. One was Brighton High School in the Salt Lake County area, and it was, there were more than 1,500 people there, and so they were sort of forced to use that website and the QR codes and all that. So I wondered if it was more of just sort of a technical issue that would pop up here and there. And
it was a technical issue, and with our being a small town in Cache Valley, we knew people, and we were able to quickly get them through. But we did check the ID, and we went through the process that we've done in the past, which is secure. And we only handed out ballots to those who had been approved on the list or had proof that they had downloaded from the state. So
that's nice.
Everything went fine.
Very nice to hear. That was and Pat, was your caucus? Were there more people there than you expected? I know a lot of neighborhoods have been doing this for so long. You kind of have an idea who's going to show up and how many, right?
Yes. Normally we have maybe 40, 50, and we had about 80.
Wow.
It was a good turnout.
Very nice. I know that was one of the goals of the party, to kind of spotlight the caucus convention system and to get people playing a part in it as it's sort of, faded from people's minds a little bit. Chair Axon had said weeks ago when we talked to him here on the show, this was on purpose. We wanted to sort of force people to go through this process so they understand it, so they get why we as a party, as a Republican Party, are defending this system. And so glad to hear that it went well in Cache Valley. And Pat, really appreciate you taking the time to call and share your experience. And let me throw this out as well. Thank you for volunteering to help make these happen. I know that is without that the party couldn't do this.
Well, and I am a total believer in the caucus convention system. I absolutely, that is the way we should go. And I am sad that some people had a bad experience.
Sure.
But it went well in our area. I think in Cache Valley we're lucky because we are in smaller groups and we can manage things better.
Sure. And that does make things easier. And then, as you said, in a lot of these neighborhoods, knowing everyone, if you have someone come in and they scan their QR code and it says they're not a registered Republican, but everyone there knows they are, it makes it a lot easier to solve the problem, right?
Well, yes, except that, we didn't just assume that. We were prepared for this to happen. And we had lists from the state of the registered voters. And we had a way to back that up.
So I have an idea, Pat. What the chair, Robert Axon, should do in the future is take experienced people like you here in Cache Valley and drive you guys, buy you lunch to do it at least, and get you down there training those people in Salt Lake and Utah County, because it sounds like here in Cache Valley, people knew what they were doing, and that seems to have made the difference. So.
I think we were all a little bit leery and worried that things would go wrong, and we had a backup plan.
Yeah, good idea. Anytime you're working with technology, right?
Right. And most of us in leadership in the county have been to conventions where the technology failed, and we know enough to be prepared with a backup plan.
Very nice to hear, and it shows, because that means that everybody leaves having had a pleasant experience, and Pat, I'm glad you were out there to make that happen.
I am too.
Very much appreciate taking the time to call and share your story.
Thank you.
Thank you for calling. So there you have it. A report from a precinct here in Cache Valley. Things went smoothly, and it sounds like a big reason for that is that knowing things can go wrong with technology, they had a backup plan. They were ready for it, and they were able to just pull the caucus meeting off as planned. Maybe a lesson there for some of the larger meetings that were happening in Salt Lake and Utah County. Don't just depend on the QR codes and the scanning system. Yeah, like I say, that's what I'm hearing from here in Cache Valley more often, far more often, from people who have weighed in, that things went well, as Pat just told us happened in her precinct. And I mean that to those who volunteered, like Pat and others out there. I know it's a pain. It's not an easy thing to do. It's a whole night you dedicate to this, if not more, in the training and things like that. But without the volunteers, the party couldn't pull this off. So hats off to everyone who was out there in Cache Valley making this happen last night. Again, if you want to share your story from caucus night, 753-5868. Pat on the line there saying everything at her precinct went well. They were able to check people in, and they tried to do it without using the technology as much as possible when they heard of what was happening in some of the other areas of the state, and things went smoothly at her precinct. How did they go at yours? 753-5868. We'll be back right after this.
Snow, rain, or sunshine, the Utah weather is unpredictable. This is Mark, an injury attorney with the Advocates. No matter what the weather is in Utah, we all need to be aware while driving or even walking into your favorite store. If you've been injured in a car, trucking, or slip and fall accident and haven't spoken to an injury attorney yet, call the Advocates today. There is no cost to you to find out if you have a case. Chat online at utahadvocates.com or call 801-355-5550. You deserve an advocate.
I'm Jason Walton, candidate for U.S. Senate. I'm recording from the Tucson sector of our southern border, and nobody's here. Our government should defend our territory, but President Biden, Mitch McConnell, and career politicians are funding war in other countries while the cartels are waging unchecked war here on American soil. I'm standing up to build the wall, end catch and release, and secure the border. Stand with me. I'm Jason Walton, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Friends of Jason Walton for Senate.
Don't let concerns about today's events derail your long-term financial strategy. Edward Jones Financial Advisors can help work with you to understand today's financial landscape and how to be positioned for the long term. Edward Jones can give you the tools for a reasoned, disciplined approach to investing. Get started by calling one of the 7 Edward Jones locations in Cache Valley. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
The Above and Beyond Salute.
Hello, this is Robert.
My name is Will Feelright. I'm calling from KVNU. I understand you're a hospice nurse. Is that right?
Yes, I am.
Well, someone in our community had contacted us anonymously, told us about some of the work that you have done helping their family members. And so to tell you thanks, we've got a $40 gift card for you from Firehouse Subs.
Oh, well, that's great. I enjoy what I do, and if I can make a difference, it's worth it. Thank you.
The Above and Beyond Salute, sponsored by Firehouse Subs on News Talk KVNU.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. 753-5868 if you'd like to share your caucus night experience here in Cache Valley. Again, what I'm hearing from some of the texts and emails we got last night and even here during the show as I'm asking, and also we had Pat on the line there who was actually a volunteer helping organize one of these precinct meetings here in Cache Valley. Most of what I'm hearing in Cache Valley, other than one or two reports, things went really well. But that seems to hinge on whether or not the precinct was completely dependent on the technology the party decided to use for these caucus night meetings and presidential preference poll. In areas like Brighton High School down in South Salt Lake, there was another report from Weber County and Box Elder County and Davis County that were just, Republicans being turned away and unable to vote because they pre-registered, had their QR code. When they scanned the QR code, it would pop up and say, you're not eligible to vote in this election, as if they weren't a registered Republican, though they'd proven they were in order to pre-register in the first place. It was a mess, and it seems to hinge on the technology that they were using. Here's a bit of audio from, this was as Party Chair Rob Axson was addressing the very, very agitated and angry crowd at Brighton High School in Salt Lake County last night, where more than 1,500 people showed up. The line was about half a mile long outside the building, and by 8:30 they still had not checked everyone in to even begin the meeting. An hour and a half after it was supposed to start. And Chair Rob Axson took to a tabletop at this meeting inside a high school to try and address the crowd and answer some questions. And the crowd was done with it at that point. Here's a bit of that audio.
Their hands are the ones that you need to get to. So if you have pre-credentialed, it's quick. They can scan that little document, and they'll give you that little form and send you on your way. Those of you who have not pre-credentialed, you will want to scan that. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Okay, so it's a capacity issue with the Why do we need a phone to vote? There's no voting on this. It's to check you in. I know. Still, there's the process. It's to check in and go really quick. It gets I understand. Okay, so watch the people who have their hand up.
That was just a bit of that meeting, and you heard people in the crowd shouting as he explained how the process worked, people saying it isn't working, and one gentleman there saying, why does everyone need a phone to vote? There were some elderly people who were interviewed by a Salt Lake, I forget which news station, who also said they felt disenfranchised because she's in a wheelchair, and there was no way for her to get inside the building, and they just gave up and went home. So kind of a mess in some areas of the state, and the party taking some heat for that today. Good news, though, as we heard from Pat, as I've heard from most of the comments we've gotten via the chat and even a few emails last night from listeners sharing their experiences. By far the majority of experiences here in Cache Valley are that things went really well and it was a pleasant experience. But from around the state, some especially in those areas where they relied entirely on the technology that the party had contracted for the credentialing process and more, things were a bit of a mess. Late in the evening, after the caucus meetings had officially ended, KSL TV had a chance to talk to Rob Axson and ask him, how did this happen? And here's what he had to say.
I think it's more just people forget what their role is here, right? They forget what they're supposed to do. They're confused on where they're supposed to go. So we're trying to facilitate that. In a lot of the locations, we had more volunteers. There was a couple of volunteers who did not arrive today. So it creates a little bit of a choke point that we're dealing with here at this location.
But I think that kind of begs the question, is this process too confusing?
No, not at all. I don't think so, because I believe that the American public and the Utah citizenry here in our state are smart enough to get involved. And we appreciate the patience. And I can appreciate, too, being confused on a moment. And we'll try to get those questions answered. But ultimately, the engagement that you can get in the precinct level is incredibly valuable. It's worthwhile. So I think the effort is worth it. I think it's more...
So the chair... I get what he was trying to say, but he's taking some heat for those comments as well. Folks have responded saying, so if we weren't able to get credentialed and vote, then we're stupid. Obviously, I don't think that's what Chair Axon meant, but you can see how his comments were interpreted that way. Just an indelicate way to put it. I feel like what he was trying to say is look, this, people can figure this out. It's not rocket science. The problem, though, again, and he probably should have just taken his lumps for this in the interview. He did later today, but last night he probably should have done it right out of the gate. It sounds like the technology they contracted to do this, I don't know if it wasn't tested or if just last night it started to not work correctly, but any time you have a process that requires proving you're registered and credentialing and pre-registering for the event to get in quicker, and then to have people show up and have that not work, again, that's I wouldn't contract with whatever company that was again. Is what I'm saying, and sure, party leadership should take their lumps for that decision. And again, Axon did today, but last night he miffed a lot of people with that comment, kind of implying that it was the fault of delegates who didn't know how to use the technology when it appears the technology itself was actually failing. But and again, some of those stories, a lot of people turned away after even some that had pre-registered and proven their registration to do so and showed up with their QR code, and when they'd scan it, it would tell them they were ineligible. Reports from around the state that a lot of those people just went home and didn't vote. And it's the party's job to make sure that doesn't happen. So, again, glad to hear this wasn't something that was happening here in Cache Valley, at least from the majority of responses we've gotten from listeners. That's good news. Not that we don't care about other parts of the state and them being able to weigh in the presidential preference poll for the Republican nominee. But at least here in Cache Valley, it sounds like had our act together. So good news there for voters. The results aren't final at this point. Still some precincts, I understand, in Davis County, they're still kind of sitting on some of their tallies. But at this point, pretty decided that Donald Trump has quite a lead on Nikki Haley in that presidential race. And we'll let you know when things are finalized, though. That's it for Hour 1 of today's show. Stick around. Hour 2 and some myth-busting, some things going around out there about the state's election, or state's investigation into the county clerk's office. And, we're just going to play the audio of the state's presentation to the county council for you, some of it at least, here in Hour 2, right after this on KVNU Logan.
When it's happening in Washington, when it's happening on Wall Street.
That's the reason why we're going to continue, because I believe there is a cause here.
News Talk KVN.